What's up, everybody? Welcome to Clutch's Corner. I'm going to go ahead and get right on into it. So starting things off, we're looking at Google. Google is an inside day, so it had like a big pop-up after that inside day a couple days ago. And sorry, I had to open up a little packet of crackers for my daughter. The inside day, I mean, these could honestly go either way. Who knows what will happen in the morning time, right? In pre-market. So zooming into the 30-minute time frame, we'll start with the top side, which is calls, that breaks the top end. Right in here, where we can see this wick isn't able to finish it, this wick isn't able to finish it, this wick isn't able to finish it. For the course of 2 hours, we really couldn't get and stay above this price. If we do, then we will come and test the top of this 3, where again, these are unable to close it. And then we even have this 3 here, this 2, and this 3 all unable to close above this high. So that'll be our next price target, the top of the 3 here, where these things get really close. And then it'll just be the top of this 1, where these 2 things are unable to close above it. And then, of course, the high of the day. Moving to the bottom side, we got to go a little bit farther out. And we're going to zoom into the 5 minutes, because obviously if we do go to the downside, this is a very bullish looking one. So if we do crash to the bottom, then what sort of range are we going to have left to deal with? So moving into the 5-minute chart, we're going to start seeing where that first little bit of contention is. It's right here off of this 2, where you can see it right in here off of these candles, the algorithm that's there. Right here, you can see how these are unable to close above it. This failed to, ended up pushing right on down, right? So this is just a 2 down and a 2 down. If we do break here, then I believe that we'll come test this, where all 3 of these are wicking off of it, even here, unable to finish above it, or excuse me, below it. And then right in here, you can see where the algorithm is switching, and here's the switch for it, where now it's pushing, that is pushing up. Now it's pushing down until we break it again, and now it's pushing up again off of it, and then it's pushing down off of it. And here you see it again with the push down. So this is an algorithm that's switching, right? We just got to be aware of it when we get to it next time. Right in here, the bottom of this 2, where all these candles are unable to get past it. Look at right in here where the bodies are unable to close beneath this. And then we can see the wick off of it right in here as well. Moving in to some closer, or excuse me, some closer to the day, but farther PTs. The bottom of this failed to right in here, where all of this has contention. And then look at how these candles are just unable to get and stay above this. This is on the 5-minute, but still it just is showing the algorithm is right here, especially considering the 3 is here. And then after that, it will just simply be the low of the day. So that is Google. Google, what I'm looking at as far as price targets, excuse me, not price targets, but pretty simple. If it breaks to the upside, then I'm going to be looking at the 155 strike price. If it breaks to the downside, I will actually be looking at the 152.50. I'm not interested in getting a $10 delta. I'd rather take a 24 delta. But buying it at the 155 is just like a bit too much in the money for my liking. I want to build that intrinsic value along the way. And these are really inexpensive contracts, but if we do end up down here by entry, then they'll be reflective more of this price in here, to be honest. All right, moving forward, things are going to get a little easier from now. Amazon totally did its thing. It broke to the downside and took out all the PTs that we had marked out, and then it just went right back up, right? And that one happened all in the pre-market, but still, regardless, it did exactly what it was supposed to do. I will be looking at the 180 strike price. You could look at the 182. But to me, 60 delta is a lot more impressive than a 36. And that is why, you'll just have to make your decision on which one do you want to get. Okay, if we break through the upside, we'll test the top of this one right in here, where these candles are all having trouble getting up above it. You can even see it in this 3 right here. We crack it and then we're like, oops, nope, not supposed to be here. Kind of like when you put your toes in the water and it's too cold, you don't want to get in. What we see happening here with these candles, and it's all off of this level right here. Then the next one will be off of this one where look, tap, tap, tap. This one got really close, but didn't quite tap it, but several taps on this price right in here. And then much easier to actually see the top of this one and then the top of this two are definitely places that we could contend from. If we zoom in, we're going to have to go to the 5 because you can see there's that big line in there. But where is it coming from? Right here, where all three of these candles are unable to close above this price. And then, of course, the high of that day, which is reflected in this massive wick right in here. But hey, we did our thing, and now it's looking like we're wanting to push back up. And we went over strikes already. Now let's go ahead and go into JNJ. JNJ is definitely looking like it wants to push up, especially bouncing off of the trend line, especially staying out of this level right in here that, as you can see, we bounce up pretty heavy whenever we wick this level, and we got really close to it again. So it looks like we definitely want to push up to the upside. The setup was there yesterday, but it didn't actually crack it. But today, it's there in strides with a beautiful actual fail two showing that buyers are really aggressively pushing this up from where it opened. If we are going to talk strike prices, 320 is definitely where I'm going to be looking at and shopping. However, if you were to get something like the 325, I think that you would just be fine. The delta is really great, and the price is really affordable as well for majority of people. All right, with that being said, though, let's talk price targets. Obviously, from the daily, right, we're going to have the top of the 2, and then because of range, we're going to have the top of this 1. Moving into the 30-minute time frame, bang, first PT right in here, right? Second PT right here, where all of this is having a little chop fest. But then if you look over here, you'll see that it's bouncing off of it to the upside here off of the same price. So this is going to be an important algorithm to pay attention to. Of course, we have a massive 3 here, and all 3s typically have an algorithm on the top and bottom. So we're going to mark the high of that 3 and be ready for that. Top of this 2, and then the reason this is important is because look at how all of these candles are bouncing off of it to the upside, but yet all of these candles are bouncing off of it to the downside. So what does that mean? There's an algorithm right here. And when we get there, the buyers and sellers are going to have a decision to make on what we want to do. And I'm sure you're already looking at this like, ooh, there's definitely an algorithm there. Yeah, and it's going to be tested right here off of this price where you can see ding, 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 ding. We tested it several times there, unable to get above and stay above. So when we get back to this price again, a decision is going to have to be made. Then we'll test the top of this 2 where we can kind of see these 3 candles are able to close above it. And then, of course, the high of the day for that full entire setup. Crowd looks really great for tomorrow. All right. Now, one thing that I'm very excited about MA or MasterCard is the fact that not only is it a fail 2, but it has the opportunity here to re-trigger the weekly and then finally put things back into that weekly time frame continuity with 3 days in it and stuff, because the decoupling for the week will already sort of be over at that point. And it looks like it definitely wants to do that. So if it does, obviously we'll have the high of this previous candle as a PT. The weekly entry will also be a PT. That's why it's here like this. If I do this though, you'll be able to see this is just where the daily PT is. But let's move into the 30-minute, and also let's talk about strike prices on it. So if we break the entry, then I'm going to be looking at the 482 strike price. I like the delta. The spreads aren't that bad. I'm going to just show that nifty little trick that I gave you guys, and you'll be all good. But let's talk 30-minute. The top of this 2, there we go, is the first price target right in here, 480.80. After that, and then look, because right in here, look at how these things are really close to it and they don't quite touch it. So whenever we break to the upside, we are going to come and test this and then make our decision. The top of this 2, the top of this 3 right in here, which coincides with the weekly entry. You can see we came up and wicked it and then immediately started pushing back down. It was really hard for us to stay above it that day, but we might be able to now. we might be able to now. And if we do, then we can go and test out the high of this daily before continuing on with the weekly. Big wick right in here, so definitely something to consider when we get there, to maybe be cashing out of your dailies and using some profit to swap over to your weeklies, or maybe doing that all around the weekly entry here. All right, moving over into shop. Now shop, not going to break this one down extensively because if you watched yesterday's video, all the price targets are literally in the exact same spots. They're in the exact same spots. The strike price isn't any different, so there's no real need to break this down even more. Moving on into AMD, which, you know, we were looking forward to do its thing this day, and it did it today, taking out all the price targets that we had 2 days ago. We had that little pop-up yesterday, and then today with all the news catalysts that came out and data that came out, we ended up pushing down and then going right back up. With that right back up movement, we're looking to see if this can then be a 2 down, 2 up reversal and come and test out some of these things in here. However, it will also be re-triggering the weekly as well, very similar to MasterCard. But AMD already took out one price target on the weekly and got very close to the second one. So we're going to see if maybe it wants to retest those things. And if it does, then we're going to go to the 30-minute time frame to start seeing where some price targets are going to come from. There is a massive gap between yesterday and today. Because of that, we're going to stretch our way over here and find some price targets in between the gap, because there actually is prices here for us to have pivots off of. The top of this 3 right in here. With goodness, look at this choppiness. It's having a hard time getting above it. Regardless of how close this is, we don't ignore price targets. We don't ignore algorithms. The top of this 2 right in here. Go sit down. The top of this 2 right in here. Is going to be our next spot, where the bottom, you look at the bottom bit right here, these are unable to crack beneath it. And it is staying above this trend pretty nicely until it did finally break. And then it said, oops, not supposed to be here, and ran up again, tried staying above it again. And it wasn't until this morning with that news catalyst that everything broke down. So it's very possible that we could want to come up and retest this. Retesting this could put it at the same area as here at the top of this 3. All 3s have algorithms at the high and low of them. Moving past that, we'll come test the top of this 2, where all of these things you can see is contention. Even this bad boy right here broke it and was unable to close below this price. Then the top of this 2, where these 3s are having a lot of trouble getting up past it. And then the top of this 1, and the top of the day there will be that last PT. And then this is the untouched weekly price target. So that's why it's good to have them, you know, labeled differently. And there is, you know, the weekly price target here as well, which is a whole other spot. We did hit it, but it isn't a daily price target, because yesterday on the daily, it didn't really pivot off of that, if that makes sense. It broke past it and it pivoted from here. So AMD, when it comes to the strike price, I'm going to be looking at the 180. Right in here. I do like the price. If you wanted to do something like the 182, I think that you would be just fine. You'll definitely end up in the money by the time that we cross the 3rd PT onto the weekly entry, and that'll build some really nice value at an affordable contract with a great delta attached to it for the day. So AMD looks great for tomorrow, and I'm actually very excited about it. Uber. So congratulations to everybody who made Uber money off of the weekly play. I'm one of those people. I sold majority of my contracts at the 2nd weekly price target here. And then my runners got stopped out, I think, for like 10% less, but it was 60% by the time we hit up here. So if you had gotten it yesterday when it broke entry, held it to today when it pretty much hit PT2 very early in the morning, you would have made 60% along with me buying this exact same contracts that I suggested. Tomorrow, because it did hit that price target, it definitely is giving the looks that it wants to bounce up off of that and continue to the upside. So with that, we are going to be looking at the 78 strike price. You could get the 77. However, I think that getting the 78 is where I'm going to be looking at personally. Great delta, really affordable contracts. Can't get better than that, right? All right. With that being said, we're going to move into the 30-minute time frame to start seeing where some PTs are coming from. Remember, threes have algorithms on the highs and lows of them. The 3 right in here is going to be where that first PT is coming from, right? And it isn't that far away, so be ready for it. And then the high of this 2 right in here, because look at the massive freaking wick. Oops. Look at the massive freaking wick on this candle. So when we come back up in here to this area and we see that these things are unable to finish it, we see the choppiness within here, we see the bouncing off of it to the upside here, there is a strong algorithm here. When we get to this, a decision will have to be made. If we break it, we can come test the top of this 2, then the top of this 2, and then because of range, it could keep going to the top of this 2, and then of course the high of the day. Now the great thing about this one right here is that you can see where it's wicking off of here to the upside. So strong algorithm in there as well. To tail things off, we'll tail things off with JNJ. Now, this thing was on the watch list on this day, of course, and we ended up taking out damn near all the price targets that were on it if you had swung it. And I'll be honest, this would have been very difficult to swing because it just moved against you after creating lows of the days each time. But because of that, what is that telling us? So the buyers are really stepping up here after things open up. They don't like the price going down. And so tomorrow, if they are still feeling similarly, then we could see a break entry and come take out some price targets here. Going to be looking at the the 157.50 strike price for this, because I just don't want anything this cheap and this low of a delta. If this thing moves, I want to make more than $18 per dollar movement. I would rather make $58 per dollar movement being added on to my premium. So that's why I'm going to be looking at the 157.50. And then moving into price targets, pretty obvious, right? Right here, the top of this 2. And then if you look at the daily, it is the top of the day here. So moving past PT2, we'll come test this bad boy where this wicks off of it, this cracks through it, wicks. All these things are kind of coming and tapping this area and then bouncing to the upside. So if we get to this area, we're going to see if that algorithm has switched or if they've still got buy orders in there. Then we'll test the top of this one, because let's face it, this is a very choppy section in here. And this is like the middle ground of the chop. You can see this is, not able to close beneath it, not able to close above it, not able to close above it, finally breaks it, and then not able to close above it on that 3 as well. So right in here at that 1, the top of this 3 right in here, because look, wink, 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 all 3 of these candles are unable to close it. They come up, they wick it, orders trigger, it ends up breaking right back down. And then the high of this massive wick 2 in here will be the next spot. And so, yeah, those are the plays that I'm looking at for tomorrow. Honestly, incredible setups. Great job to everybody that made some money today off of Target. Target was a really easy play to play. And yeah, that's it. God bless. I will see y'all soon. And I'm rooting for y'all in every way. Let's keep crushing it in Q2. God bless.